Hands to the heavens, no man, no weapon formed against, yes, glory is destined. Everyday women and men become legends.
That is Glory from the new released MLK movie, Selma. And that's what we're going to be talking about today on the second installment of the MovieGoers talk show. I'm alone today, which is kind of sad. Yes, last time I was with someone, but today I'm all alone, and we're going to try to still have fun. I'm sure we got a lot to talk about. Last time on the first episode of the MovieGoers talk show, we talked about The Imitation Game and The Hobbit, The Battle of Five Armies. And now, today we're going to talk about something that's very relevant with two movies that have just recently come out and have been nominated for some Academy Awards, and they are Selma and American Sniper. Both, a lot of people are just talking about some inaccuracies of both, and we're going to talk about whether inaccuracies matter or not to the overall film, or whether you should care about them even if you like the movie, whether if you don't like the movie, is it just because of that, and is that a real reason or not? We're going to talk about all those, but I'm just happy to be back here. We're talking about movies. Like, it's been a sad couple of weeks since this last MovieGoers Talk podcast went up. I mean, some crazy stuff's going on around the world. We have deflating footballs in the NFL. No, but really, just some sad stuff's happening in France and in Paris. It's nice to escape for a while in movies, whether you're seeing them or talking about them. And that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to talk about them. So, first off, I'm going to start with American Sniper because I just saw it last weekend. And, oh my God, for this movie to open as big as it did, it's shocking everyone. Like, $89 million opening weekend. And that's not counting MLK Day as the third day, which it was 107 when you total it all up. But $107 million opening weekend. That is summer blockbuster money. That doesn't happen in January. And of course it breaks all the records. I think the previous highest grossing movie in January was like Ride Along, which was last year, maybe. I could be wrong there. But $107 million, that's like Marvel. That's crazy. We gotta talk about how and what is drawing everyone to see this movie. And then its second weekend, it gets $64 million. That's a drop, but considering how high it was first weekend, that's barely anything, really. I know it went down $40 million. That's really good for second week, and it's still number one at the box office. So what is it that is drawing everyone to the theater? Because no one thought this was going to make this much money. Like, it had a budget of $51 million, and so it's already made its money back, and now this is all just raking in money. I think Clint Eastwood's got to be pretty satisfied with what he's done here, and Warner Bros. Has got to be pretty satisfied with what he's done, because that's not what I thought was going to draw people to this movie. I didn't think Clint Eastwood's name would. If he was in it, maybe, but his past three director outings have not been the strongest. Those being J. Edgar, Hereafter, the weird Matt Damon I'm a Psychic movie, which had a pretty cool tsunami scene, but other than that, it was just kind of madness. And then he had Jersey Boys earlier this year, which I didn't even bother seeing. I'm sorry. I'm sure the play is fine, but I did not want to see that movie. Nothing drew me to see that movie, even though it was directed by Clint Eastwood. Now, he has had some amazing movies in the past, of course. Mystic River and $1 Million Baby, Unforgiven. Like, the dude is a very talented director. I just thought he'd lost it, really. I mean, it just, with those three movies coming out, and then he's making American Sniper. Okay. So I didn't think that his name was drawing everyone to this movie. It could be Bradley Cooper. I'm sure it is in some aspects, because this is a guy whose last few roles, they've all been Academy Award nominations. Like Silver Linings Playbook, American Hustle. And he was a part of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, yes, it was his voice. I don't think that had a lot to do with it. but still, the dude's making great career choices, and he's been nominated for 2 Oscars. And now they're advertising this as his best performance by a male actor. I think what did it for this movie was that it came out at the perfect time. I'm never thrilled when 2014 movies are coming out like 2 or 3 weeks after the year 2014. Like, I just did my top favorite movies of 2014 video on YouTube. American Sniper's not on there because I didn't see it yet, but I had to get that video out there. I saw Selma, but listen, if I did the video a week earlier, 2 of my favorite movies of the year would not be on there. That always bothers me, but from a marketing standpoint, I think this movie was very smart. So the Academy Award nominations come out, and we see it's nominated for 6 Oscars. Best Picture and Best Actor. And then, literally that weekend, a 3-day weekend, it comes out in theaters all over the country. And it's got, Bradley Cooper, who in their advertising, that trailer alone would draw me to the theater, where he's trying to make the decision on whether or not to shoot a kid or not. Like, come on, you got to go see that. And plus, it's going to all the veterans out there and all the, frankly, rednecks that never see a movie, or just people that don't really go to the theater often. People are like, oh, this is the movie I have to go see. It's the most lethal sniper in U.S. history. Bradley Cooper, Clint Eastwood. It just got nominated for a bunch of Oscars. That's fresh off that news, because people generally forget a few weeks after that aren't big film fans. So that does have something to do with it. I just think it landed on the right week. It was marketed well. You got the star, you got the star director, and you got an amazing trailer, and it succeeded. It has now it's in like $200 million domestically. That's just unbelievable. I'm so happy that this movie is making as much money as it is. It's definitely going to be the highest grossing Best Picture nominee from the movies nominated. It's making so much money, and it might be one of the top of 2014. I don't think it's going to be the best, of course, because there's still Avengers Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, and Star Wars, obviously, and Mission Impossible 5. But it's going to be up there, because this is a lot of money. This is crazy. You're getting people who never go to the theater to go to the theater. It's becoming an event film. You got to go see American Sniper. You got to go see it. So that's just so impressive. And it's rated R. That's the biggest thing, because even if it was PG-13, I might have thought, okay, it might make more money than I'm thinking. This is a rated R movie, which is already annexing an age group from going unless they're with, someone 21 or older, or it might be 18 or older. But $200 million rated R movie, Oscar war film. I'm psyched to see it's doing well. It's a good movie, and it's doing really well. And that's a win-win for me, and it should be a win-win for everyone. So, all right, box office numbers aside, I think that American Sniper is one of Clint Eastwood's best directorial jobs. The action scenes in this movie are so good, and they're intense. Like, they have you gripped to your seat at some points. That scene in the trailer where he's, contemplating whether or not to shoot the kid or not. When that happens, you're locked in. And there's so many scenes like that because you become connected to the character and person, Chris Kyle. And that's another thing about this movie, because people are comparing it to Lone Survivor, which came out this time last year. It's a war film. It's about a Marine, a U.S. Marine. Excuse me, I'm a little sick, guys. If you see me sneezing, grabbing a tissue, I'm sorry. I'm a little sick. So I'm going to try to ignore that. I have my tea here, my Andy Star mug. So that's what that is. But okay, so why is Lone Survivor? Why did that not do nearly as well as this movie? I think it's because this is a real guy, and I'm not saying I think the Lone Survivor it's real people, but this is a real veteran, and he's the most lethal sniper in U.S. history. So he's kind of well known from a veteran standpoint, people who are in the military. And I think just that title alone, oh wow, I want to go see that movie. But it always gets a little dicey. People get a little crazy, in particular with what actually happened or not when it becomes real life people, like in Selma, MLK, LBJ. We'll get into that later. So I was very happy about what I saw in American Sniper, and I was going in. You gotta understand, I was going in thinking like, oh, they got this guy all wrong, and it's probably going to be like, oh, let's go America, yeah, oh, America, and that we're awesome, and there's going to be no setbacks, and it might just be, a just praising war film. And it wasn't that, and not only was it not that, it was, I think, the opposite. I think this movie is a pro-military movie and an anti-war movie. Now, that can be kind of difficult to, differentiate, but I think, and I'm not going to go into any spoilers right now. That I might go into spoilers towards the end of the podcast, but I will always say spoiler alert, or then I'm about to go into spoilers before I ever talk about anything that I feel would spoil the movie. I think that from the beginning we see why he enlists, and it was because, well, he's over in Iraq and Afghanistan because of 9/11, and we see that he's just doing that for his job. He wants to protect American lives. He goes there because he's like, well, look, they killed Americans. I want to go over there and defend my country. He's a great guy. He's a great soldier. And when he comes back from his first tour and he's with his family, we see how he's changed. He's a different guy, and we see that all through Bradley Cooper's remarkable performance. I thought that this Best Actor category was between Michael Keaton and Eddie Redmayne. And it might just be that. But I gotta tell you, this movie would not have been nearly as good without Bradley Cooper, because he carries this movie, and there are a lot of things that I didn't feel were that emphasized in the script that came off in his acting. We see how different he is when he comes back from tour, because we were with him there. And then we see his wife notice what's different about him. And when he goes back, we see, what he goes through again, how it changes him mentally. Because his whole mindset is that he's going over there just to defend American lives, and he wants to defend his country, and he's a patriot and all this. And we realize, well, maybe it's not all that. Like, the first scene is when he has to decide whether or not to kill this child who has a grenade, and he's going to take out American lives. And he has to kill him, but then there's this scene where he's with another Marine. He's like, I didn't think I'd see that kind of evil over here. And he's like, well, just imagine, what he would have done if he gets through, and he would have got the Americans. So we see this like internal struggle, like, oh my God, I'm defending my country, but I'm seeing all this evil stuff, and this isn't what I thought it would be, just good versus bad. And I'm doing things I didn't think I would have to do. And then we see him come back to America and try to, differentiate over there, back here. And just like, a lot of what it is that while he's back in America, he's wishing he was over there because he knows what people are going through. And I just thought that was a great concept. It wasn't all just America's awesome, or that we should be fighting the good fight. We get into his character, his mindset, and it's so interesting what he has to go through. Let me just take a quick sip of my coffee here. But what a lot of people are saying, that with the inaccuracies of the movie, and they're comparing it to the book, of course, and stuff he said on air and on radio talk shows Chris Kyle did, is that maybe this wasn't the best guy. Maybe he wasn't as perfect a human being as a lot of other people are saying he is. Now, I've read into this, and there is a scene in the movie where he's questioned about a person he killed, and people are saying, well, was he carrying a Koran, or was it a Koran? One of the Bibles, or was he carrying a grenade? And he said, no, he was carrying a grenade. In the movie, he says that. And he said, I would kill someone carrying a grenade. When in the book, he specifically says he would kill anyone carrying a Koran. Which, that's not particularly right. That's kind of, that's segregated. It's a little racist. But I don't think that aspect of him generally changes him as a character. Oh, they got the whole entire movie wrong. They got the whole entire character wrong. No. I think that the movie did, in a wee bit, gloss over some problems or just troubles with the actual Chris Kyle that they could have gone into. Hey, maybe this guy isn't as great as we all think he is. Maybe he has some problems, some flaws. And they could have gone into that. And I think that was a missed opportunity. They could have gone into a few of those and seen how that guy acts as the hero, the legend of being the most lethal sniper in the world. But it's kind of hard to see whether or not just him, what he's going through over there, changes his mindset to make him say certain things like this or believe certain things like this. And maybe that actually, is his mindset. But who's to say that what he's going through isn't making him believe that or making him say that? So it's very confusing, and I do think that the creators, the directors, could have gone into that and more flaws of the character, but I don't think that that's enough to just throw out this movie completely. Like, some people are just saying that, they are errors and we shouldn't see it because that. I disagree with that. And also, there's the whole conversation like, snipers are cowards. Well, in the movie, okay, I don't think snipers are cowards. I think it's a job in the military. Someone's got to do it. Yes, you're shooting people in the back. All right. But there are so many scenes where he is sniping and he's got no shot and he wants to go out there and start busting down doors with everyone else. Like, there are multiple scenes where he emphasizes how much he wants to do that, and then there are certain scenes where he does. So I don't think that point is valid. You can believe that. It's totally fine, but I just feel like the movie doesn't just paint him as just a strict sniper. That's all he did. It's a job. It's something he has to do, and I don't think it's coward-like. I think it's noble. Like, you have to do that, and he killed more than 160 people. And for the longest point in the movie, he doesn't really keep count, and people are telling him that, and you can kind of see he doesn't really care about that. But towards the end, that number does kind of matter. Like, this is a human being who's killed 160 people. That's hard for anyone. Like, you can't just kill 160 other human beings and that kind of sit right with yourself mentally. Like, that affects you on a scale, and that affects his PTSD when he comes back. And it's very interesting to think about all this with the Chris Kyle character. There's so many things you can go into with what happens in Afghanistan, what happens when he comes back home, how he's treating everyone around himself, and can he get back into their normal life? And that is where I think American Sniper is at its highest. We're seeing how much the war affected this guy. We've seen, that can be very normal, can be a family man in the beginning of the film, and how all these tours affect him. We've seen war movies in the past where they go into that, like how the war affected them. But this one kind of shows it on a very personal scale. We see firsthand how it would affect him, and we see in his character, like, he's just not all completely there. Like, he never really comes back. So I just thought Bradley Cooper's performance and portrayal of Chris Kyle was so well done, and just my hand goes to him. Like, he did a fantastic job, and Clint Eastwood directing, great job, because Clint Eastwood is known for not doing that many takes. Like, he has a strict schedule. He wants to get the shooting done for that day, just get it over with and keep moving. And I didn't feel like this movie, I'm impressed that that's his style, and this movie was as good as it was, because usually with certain directors like that, you can see like, there are a few scenes where maybe the acting wasn't as strong as it could have been, when it totally was in this movie. I was very, very pleased and satisfied with the direction. I think he did a fantastic job. And this is Clint Eastwood's highest grossing movie. It's only its second week. Just saying. Some negatives. Excuse me. Some negatives about the film. the negatives in this film, again, they could have gone into more of the flaws of Chris Kyle as a character. But, you see, I was worried that you can't... What's in the book, from what I'm hearing about the flaws, is that it doesn't really change him that much as a character. You just see, hey, he wasn't perfect, but he's still an American hero. I don't know how that would have come off in a movie. I'm sure it's possible, but I don't know how it would have come off in the movie. I do think they could have ventured in there and dealt with all those problems and issues too. So that was one of my negatives. And that is one of the factual errors, I guess, but not a big deal at all. It didn't affect my viewing experience at all. I still had a great time in this movie. My theater was packed, and unlike Selma, when the credits roll, we're all kind of like sitting there, oh my God, I cannot believe this happened. Oh, that's crazy. Another negative, and I love the action in this movie. It's great war action. I was really into it. But there's got to be another way to film action scenes in the Middle East, because I feel like Hurt Locker, even Zero Dark 30, the Green Zone, they're all shot the same. And that's no big knock on the movie, but that's just one more negative I have for this film. I don't think it's for everyone. I do think it is for a large audience, but if you gotta be prepared for some pretty brutal action scenes and constantly seeing him go on tour and family separation. And there are one or two scenes that might have been exaggerated, because he calls home a lot on the cell phone, and you see him talking to his wife. And at one point, and I don't know if this is true or not, but at one point he figures out his wife just found out that the baby she has is going to be a boy. And he's like, oh, it's a boy, oh my God. And he's in this truck, and then 2 seconds later, they're under attack. And that is terrifying, of course, because you just found out that this guy has a son, and he's under gunfire. And that scene I was all right with. But then there are a few scenes after that are just like that, where I'm like, okay, if that actually happened, sure. But for me as a viewer, having not read the book, known the story beforehand, I found multiple of those scenes kind of hard to believe. Like, how is he calling home that much in the middle of gunfights? I don't know. Other than that, though, I really love this movie. If I had to give it a score, it'd be a solid 9 out of 10. I loved it. I had a great experience, and at the very end, it just rips your heart out. Like, you are sad, in a good way. But definitely check out American Sniper if you already haven't, because it's become a movie event. I thought it was great, and definitely one of the best of the year. I do think it's worthy of being nominated for Best Picture. If we're going to go down to the other Oscars, and I do have the Oscars, it is nominated, the list in front of me. It's been nominated for Sound Editing, Sound Mixing, Best Achievement in Editing, Best Writing for Adapted Previously Published Material, and Best Performance by a Lead Actor, as well as Best Motion Picture of the Year. I don't know about sound editing and sound mixing. I'm not going to act like I do. But, again, with the action scenes, they are so well done, so well directed, so well edited. Maybe the sound editing, it might get the Oscar there. And same with just Best Achievement in Editing in general. It's noticeable. You're like, wow, that was a really well done scene. That was really intense. I was into that. I think it has a shot at winning those. As far as Best Writing from Previously Published Material, it's kind of confusing because Whiplash is also in that category. I love the writing of that film. But if you're going straight from book, I think the story is really interesting, and I think it has a shot at that one as well. Lead actor, I don't know. I just don't know. He is fantastic. I would say he had a shot. I do think he has a shot. I don't think they've been in enough other award shows. American Sniper didn't come out in time wide enough for the Screen Actors Guild. I do think it came out. Did it come out for the Golden Globes? I think it did for Critics' Choice, but not the Golden Globes. So there are a few it's been excluded from. So we could get a surprise at the Oscars. I don't know. For Bradley Cooper, I think he's great in the movie. That category I'm indifferent on. And Best Motion Picture, I don't think it'll win Best Motion Picture. It's just got, I know it has some unnecessary heat, some heat that's unwarranted as well, but it's heat nonetheless, and some of it's negative, and also it does have a lot of steam going on behind it. It's making so much money. It's all the buzz right now. Bradley Cooper's getting so much hype. Clint Eastwood's getting so much hype. Which, by the way, where's the directing nomination for Clint Eastwood for this movie? Over Imitation Game? I think so. Anyway, I don't think it has a shot at winning Best Motion Picture. I think that's maybe a 3-horse race. I don't know. We'll see. But nevertheless, you should totally see American Sniper. It is well worth the money. So now we are going to transition on to we're going to transition to Selma. And I gotta tell you, I saw Selma, what was it, 3 weeks ago, and absolutely loved it. Again, glory, gotta play the glory. There we go.
Woman and child.
Love that song. I hope that gets the Oscar for the best original song. That's the song that plays in the credits of Selma. What a film. What a film. Directed by a female director, Ava DuVernay. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. I love this movie. I love this movie. It's one of the first films about MLK. Come on. I know there's been some biography films, documentaries. Jeez, Ryan, where you been? But this is the first live action, actual drama film about MLK. That's saying something, man. And David Oyelowo, his performance, I think, was my favorite of the year. And I do not know how he was not nominated for an Oscar. I consider that one a snub, because I do think he had a shot at winning. I don't throw snub around a lot, and we're going to talk about the Oscars in another podcast, but I do think he was snubbed. I think his performance was excellent as MLK, because he was MLK. I felt the power in his speeches, which, by the way, were not word for word legit MLK speeches, because they are copywritten, so they had to rewrite some of the speeches. How challenging for a screenwriter to write like MLK and have it not actually be MLK's writing. That is just, I can't even fathom that. How do you do that? That's amazing. And it works. That's the big thing. It worked. Wow. But again, Selma is about the chronicle of, it's after the I Have a Dream speech. And to secure the equal voting rights, they have to go and march in Selma, Montgomery, Alabama, in 1965. Just fantastic. It's so good. So it's like Lincoln. We get a time period of this man's life. We don't get the whole story of MLK. Unlike American Sniper, which we get his whole life, Selma we get a little picture frame. We get a few days, maybe weeks, in the life of MLK and what he had to go through. And oh my God, I love this movie. Now, again, I'm just going to say my positives. We're going to get into why some people aren't big fans of Selma, what the historical inaccuracies and how that might hurt this movie or not. We're going to get into that. But again, I'm just going to say what I like about the movie first. The acting's amazing. I thought the directing was well done. I'm mad that Ava DuVernay or whatever did not get nominated as a director. I'm not going to say it's a snub, because I do not think she had a shot at winning. Just me. I do not think she had a shot at winning, but her touch was there, and I loved it. There are scenes of the marching that are just powerful. There are scenes of them, of the African Americans in Selma getting brutally attacked and hurt by the police. It's moving. You're shaken. There are many movies that get you in tears towards the end of the movie. I was getting emotional in the beginning, middle, and end of this movie. At 3 different points, I was getting emotional because there were just images on the screen that were resonating with me, and like I don't know, just it's a very powerful film, and what these people had to go through, and just to secure equal voting rights, and how evil some people are, and how evil some people were in this world. Like, so well done. I don't want to draw a comparison to 12 Years a Slave, but that movie really moved me last year because I feel like certain students, like high school students, college students, should be required to see that movie. I think that this movie should be required to be seen in every school. It's so important, the story of MLK. And I know that it was actually free for, I think, 6th to 9th graders. You could see this movie for free in any AMC or Regal. I'm not exactly sure. But that's awesome. I love that. I totally support that. Now, the people are complaining about the inaccuracies in the portrayal of LBJ. That's really it. Okay, I don't know about anything else, but the biggest complaint is about LBJ and how he's portrayed in this film. And people are saying he's portrayed as a villain, that he didn't, that they over-antagonize him, and that he was a bigger help than they make him out to be in this movie. Now, and what's really bugging me is that people are saying, don't see the movie. Now, and you're allowed to do that. That's fine. It's your opinion. Sure, whatever. I do not think you should not see the movie just because of that. And I don't think that it's a big deal. First of all, the statements about LBJ, I think, are totally blown out of proportion. Yes, they do somewhat antagonize him in this movie. I'm not saying they don't. They do. There are certain scenes where they show LBJ outright like, no, I got too much stuff going on right now with Vietnam. I cannot focus on the Voting Rights Act. And he comes off as hostile, and that he doesn't want to have anything to do with MLK. That's in one scene, though. And then there are a few other scenes where he's explaining, I can't do anything about it right now, Martin Luther King, over the phone, in person. And so there are scenes. I'm not going to deny that. But I don't think it's so much that he was just totally against it and that he didn't want to pass the Voting Rights Act. No, they make a point in the movie to say that he had a lot of stuff going on, which he did. And yes, in real life, he was more accommodating. He was definitely more into it, and he wanted to get all this stuff sorted out. He wanted to pass the law. But the movie does use him as somewhat of an antagonist to why they're in Selma marching. But they only use him as part of an antagonist. And as a thematic, cinematic choice, I think that's all right. I think it's okay. Because no one's knocking LBJ. Come on. And if the excuse people are throwing out are like, oh, but this is what children are going to be seeing. This is the only representation, the only historical thing they're going to see, and they're going to believe it. And oh my God. No, okay. Listen, I did a huge presentation about how slavery was like a section of a chapter in school, in our middle school curriculum. But Martin Luther King, we were taught that. We were taught about LBJ. We learned that stuff, all right? You cannot say this is the only thing people are going to be seeing, this is the only history children are going to be seeing, and that this is now going to be sole fact. This is what happened. Oh my God. No one's knocking LBJ. I don't think it's a big deal at all. I don't think that they just using him for a moment, because at the end of the film, you're telling people not to see it, so people don't know this. At the end of the film, this isn't a spoiler, this happened. He is in a room with Governor George Wallace, the racist governor of Alabama, totally racist, played by Tim Roth. I mean, Tim Roth's performance is great, by the way. And it's towards the end of the movie, and he's deciding whether or not he should, go on air, Voting Rights Act, and just secure equal rights. And he sees how racist and how horrible George Wallace is. Just I don't want to be this guy. Oh my God, I don't want to end up like you and not do anything. And then he does it. So there's no way this movie has a leaving impression on LBJ. And I really, truly believe this movie does not knock on LBJ as people are saying it does. And even if it does knock on him throughout the movie, and they probably don't portray him as realistically as they ought to, but as a thematic, cinematic reason, or antagonist, if you will, yes, I'll say he was an antagonist in this movie for the majority of it. I don't think it matters, and I think they used that well. I think that helped the movie, because it's not about LBJ. It's about MLK. This movie's about MLK in Selma, Alabama. One dream to change the world. And for that reason, I don't think it's a big deal, and I certainly do not believe that is a reason to not see the movie, because this is an important movie about MLK. All right? So that's my stance on that. You can think differently. It's totally fine, whatever. It's all film is subjective. And again, it's just a movie. So that's just how I feel on this huge discrepancy and how it's inaccurate. That's how I feel. I love Selma. I personally liked it more than American Sniper. And I personally liked David Oyelowo's performance a little more than Bradley Cooper's. They're both fantastic films, though. Definitely see both of them. I personally like Selma a little more. If I had to give it a rating out of 10, I'd give it a 9.5. I loved Selma. So good. Because at the end of the movie, this is what did it for me, really. Have you ever had that great film experience where everyone in your audience is just riled up at the end of the movie? Well, at the end of Selma, so they got Glory playing, and you know what? I'm just going to get in the background just so I can paint a picture for you of how my experience was. So this song starts playing, and it's the credits, and they show pictures of each actor and, you know, which character they played and what happened to their characters at the end of the film. And someone who was finished the march got killed like 7 hours later, and I was like clapping like it was a play when they showed each picture of every actor, like someone's bowing at a play or at the theater. I was clapping for each person individually, and so was everyone else in the theater. We were clapping for each individual actor like it was a play. That was so cool, and everyone was clapping. Everyone in the theater was clapping. That was just so powerful response, just how great this movie was, and a fantastic songs playing in the credits. I again, love Selma. It's fantastic. I would go see it. It's great drama, great story about MLK, and we just see what he had to go through. Like, you see all these struggles. He's making phone calls to his wife, and his wife contemplated leaving him. There's a great scene between him and his wife where his wife's like, "Did you love anyone else?" And you just see David Oyelowo's acting. He's silent for like 15 to 20 seconds, thinking about, oh my God, how am I going to respond to this? Like, we're at this point now. And he just says no. And they continue on from there. Like, it's a great film. The walk scenes, the marches are fantastic. The fight scenes will tear you to shreds emotionally. I got emotional so many points in this movie. And I want to comment one final thing on the score. The score of movies like this usually are running really loudly in the background, telling you how you should feel from what's on screen. For this movie, they used silence very well, and the score never got in the way. Until there was maybe a moment in the end where, oh, okay, I hear the score in the background. Oh, it's getting pretty hammy now, whatever. There was one moment. But other than that, I think the score served really well. I just think this is a very well done, put together, directed, acted movie, and I loved it. It was a portion of history that was just, I needed to be shown on screen. All right. All that being said, these are two fantastic movies. I really wish Selma got more Oscar nominations, and one reason why it might not have. So apparently the Academy members get screeners of the films, and apparently Selma, which was only released, it was released wide, January 10th? It was a week before American Sniper, so it's January 9th, the week before MLK weekend. So apparently, so it was a limited release until then, and so was American Sniper. But American Sniper sent out a lot of screeners. Apparently, Selma did not. And maybe it was a lot of money. Maybe they couldn't afford it. Whatever the case may be, that might have had an effect on the amount of Oscars it was nominated for. And that's one reason why I do not think it's going to get Best Picture. Although I'd be satisfied if it did. I don't think it's the Best Picture of the year. But if it did, I'd be all right with that. And I wish David Oyelowo got nominated for Best Actor, because I do think he had a good shot at winning that. His performance is fantastic. But it's nominated for Best Original Song and Best Picture. I think it'll get song easy. It's gotten the Golden Globe and the Critics' Choice. And motion picture, it's up in the air for me. Up in the air. We'll see. But love Selma. Definitely check it out. It's great. And it's not like The Butler. Now, this is another conversation for another time, but The Butler, I had a lot of problems with. And Lee Daniels was actually supposed to direct Selma, and he pulled out last minute. But if you had any problems with The Butler, it is not like The Butler. Definitely check it out. I think it's a very well done movie. All right, that's all I'm going to talk about for tonight with the MovieGoers Talk Show. Hopefully next time we get some more people on, we can talk about some movies. But I like this. I like just venting on what I just saw, what I've been seeing, getting some reviews out there. I consider these reviews. I might do individual reviews for these movies and make little videos. But I wanted to talk about these two movies because it's these two movies in particular in the Academy Award race and that are just out right now that are having the most controversy and of what's accurate, inaccurate, and if that affects the movie. And I mean, as a final note to all that, films, the thing with American Sniper, and it should have expected this type of controversy because it's dealing with a very now well-known real person, Chris Kyle. Unlike The Hurt Locker, which was dealing with a real scenario, the war in Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran right now, or during that time period, but they were fake, fictionalized characters. But their job was real, but people couldn't come out and say anything about that. So they had to expect that with this movie, and I don't think that the inaccuracies really matter in the movie. I think they matter a little bit more in American Sniper than they do with Selma, but that doesn't matter. I don't think that you should judge the movie by the inaccuracies in this particular case. Just see it for what it is. What'd you like about it? The message in Selma was, oh my God, look what this man did. Look how powerful this march was in Selma, and how it was the moment, the defining moment of the civil rights movement. While not the I Had a Dream speech. The I Had a Dream speech was incredible, but it's like, hey, maybe this march was even bigger. It mattered even more to them. Now with American Sniper, excuse me, we see what war can do to someone, and how I think it's anti-war. I think war's bad, but military, it's good. We should invest in the military. Not invest in the military, but like it's pro-military, and that's very apparent in the beginning of the movie. It's very apparent in the beginning of Lone Survivor, but very apparent in the beginning of the movie. I think Clint Eastwood he's done it again. The dude's done it again with American Sniper. He's back. I have a picture of him hanging over my mattress. All right, that's too much information. It's getting late now, so I'm just going to wrap it up while I still can. But, yep, point was the story of Chris Kyle, this true American hero, and what war can do to people. Love these two movies. Definitely go check them out. I had fun, guys. I'm Ryan Nilsen.